Manager told me to CC her on every client email. So I did, including the ones where she asked the problem by user mysterious notice 500. I work in client services, mostly just relying info between clients and our internal teams. My manager isn't super involved, but last month she goes, "Can you CC me on every client email?" Just for transparency, I was like, sure thing. So I CC'd her on literally everything, including the emails where clients asked why she missed their meeting or where I had to explain delays from her not sending over files. A few days later, she starts replying to someone with, "Let us take this offline." One client hit back with, "This wouldn't be an issue if you'd shown up." She hasn't brought up CCing since, but if she does, I've got drafts ready. All modifications must be restored to the original. By user MaliciousCompliance. I told this story to a friend. She suggested I share it here. My family and I moved into a house in 2008, 5 bedrooms, 3,200 SQFD, $1,600 a month. It was a decent price in 2008, and the rent stayed the same for many years. Since I'm reasonably handy, I would fix things myself rather than bother an old man. I lived there so long that I also made quite a few upgrades. In 2024, the owner passed away, and his son inherited the property. A week later, he gave notice of intent to inspect the property. During the inspection, he kept trying to open drawers and look through my belongings, which isn't legally allowed, and was rude when I stopped him. As he left, he handed me a notice that my rent was increasing to $4,000 monthly, about $1,000 over market value. I would have paid higher rent if it had been reasonable, but I wasn't paying that much. My month-to-month lease was worded to require 3 months' notice to raise the rent. I pointed out this fact, then gave him notice that I would be moving out at the end of that 3 months. A few days later, I was served with an eviction notice. The month-to-month lease also required 3 months' notice to evict me without cause, so he tried evicting me with cause. He claimed I had made unauthorized modifications to the house and cited the back door with a double door installed. I still had the original door in the garage and the previous owner's permission, so it was neither unauthorized nor a modification. Regardless, the judge decided I needed to move out within 30 days, or he would grant the eviction. Additionally, he explicitly ordered that all modifications be restored to the original. This is where the malicious compliance comes in, and I'm sure you already see this coming. All the smart house additions I made were removed. The tool shed in the yard was removed. The pond was filled in. Closet organizers were torn out. Garage organizers were removed. The updated appliances were replaced with basic models. Every update I made was removed, and then I moved out. He sued me for removing everything. His lawyer cited a law that says any changes to the property become part of the property, and it's illegal to remove them when vacating the property. However, my lawyer pointed out the order from the previous judge stating all modifications must be restored to the original. I provided receipts for all the things I had removed, proving I had added them and was required to remove them. I won the case, and he had to pay my legal fees. A few months later, I got a call from his sister. Some of my mail had not been forwarded, and she wanted to ensure I got it. We had a short conversation about the entire ordeal. She told me the house was actually inherited by 4 siblings. Her brother had lied to everyone. First, he had raised the rent, knowing I would move out. He already had a deal to sell the house to one of those big rental companies. He told his siblings the house had negative equity and nobody would get anything from the sale. In reality, the house was paid off and worth about $700,000. They had made an offer on the house which included all the stuff I later removed. He couldn't afford to replace everything, so they took him to court over the sale. Since all 4 siblings were listed as owners, all were named in the lawsuit, which is how they learned the truth. In the end, the house sold for $550,000. In exchange for not pressing fraud charges against him, his 3 siblings split the proceeds, and he got nothing. Edit: a lot of people ask the same questions. Rather than respond to them individually, I will post them here. Q. How did everything happen so fast after the landlord died? A. I guess my wording wasn't clear. I don't actually know when he died. I only talk to the guy once or twice a year. This all started about a week after I was notified of his death in February of 2024. I moved out in early June. We went to court over the removals in September, and I spoke with his sister in December. Everything I posted happened over the span of nearly a year. Q. Why did I rent for 17 years instead of buying a house? A. I moved into the house during my divorce in 2008. Buying a house during a divorce is not easy. I chose this house because it was large enough for me and 3 kids and close to their schools. By the time they moved out, I was set in my ways. I planned to buy another place at some point but was in no rush. Q. How did his siblings not know what he was up to? A. I don't know. Everything involving me was my first-hand experience. Everything that happened after that was second-hand information I got from his sister. I can't confirm what she told me. I can only share what she said. Q. Why did I do so many upgrades in a rental? A. I wasn't tearing out walls or replacing floors. Everything I did was reversible and done to make my life easier. Also, the landlord was retired, never raised the rent, and always gave permission. Even though I was renting, it was my home. Q. Why did the judge only give me 30 days to move out? A. The eviction process didn't happen overnight. I thought this was obvious, but some people seem confused. From the point that I gave him 3 months' notice to seeing a judge, nearly 2 months had passed. There is a time process that has to be followed. Q. How did I remove everything so quickly? A. None of the stuff was difficult to remove. The pond was not a small lake. It was a small 300-gallon hole in the backyard with a few goldfish and plants. It took us about 3 hours to drain and fill it in. The shed was sold to someone who took it away on a flatbed. Organizers were modular. Appliances are simple to replace. The most time-consuming was replacing all the smart plugs with standard outlets and smart bulbs with regular bulbs. Q. How are we supposed to believe you at all those receipts? A. I've been self-employed for 29 years. I keep every receipt because Uncle Sam doesn't mess around when it comes time for an audit. Most receipts come to my email, but I also have a portable receipt scanner for everything else. Q. How would anyone believe the house had negative equity? A. Again, I can't speak for them, but I can share a personal anecdote. My mother died in 2022. While settling her estate, we discovered that she had a reverse mortgage. Essentially, a company loaned her money with no mortgage payments. In return, they had to be paid back if she died or tried to sell the house. The house wasn't worth enough to pay them off, so we let them take it. Reverse mortgages are prevalent and often predatory. I don't know if he told them this, but it's not far-fetched to believe a house has negative equity. Customer wants a man to help him. Okay, by user Goofball 1963. I worked in a mid-sized hardware store as a salesman. I had been working in the construction industry for 15 years, and at this store for at least 10 years. I knew almost everything about how to do home repair projects and what was needed to fix the problems. At the same time, we had a girl at the sales counter named Bonnie, not her real name, but it will do. She was also very knowledgeable and one of our best salespeople. We were both behind the counter one day. She was standing at the counter, and I was at a desk doing paperwork. An older guy comes up to the counter, and Bonnie asks if she can help him. No, I need a man that knows what he is doing to help me. Bonnie was pissed. She turns to me and asks me to take over. Sure. No problem. Cue up my warped sense of humor. Sir, what can I help you with? He states the problem. I immediately turn around and restate the issue to Bonnie. She casually answers, and I turn back around and repeat exactly what Bonnie had just said. He asks another question, and I repeat the question to Bonnie, then repeat her answer to the customer. Every question he asked me, I turned and asked Bonnie, then repeated her answer to him. Yes, I knew all the answers, but the guy was being a prick, so I decided to give him a little lesson. He wanted a man to help him. Okay. Told to stop wasting time on customer chats. Okay, no more small talk ever. I am a cashier at a small hardware store. My manager, Dave, is obsessed with efficiency. Last week, he chewed me out for chatting with a regular about his DIY project. Said, stop wasting time with customers, scan items, take payment, done. His exact words, no one cares about your little conversations. Fine, Dave. Now, I am a robot. Scan items, state total, bag stuff, no eye contact, no words beyond cash or card. Customers are confused. One old guy even asked, you okay, kid? You were usually so chatty. I just shrugged and said, store policy. Sales dropped a bit because our regulars loved the personal touch. Yesterday, Dave got a complaint from a loyal customer who said the stewardess lost its charm. He has been glaring at me, but can't he say anything since I am following his orders to a T. Now he is stuck doing damage control, and I am just scanning like a good little robot. You think I'm fudging my hours? You're right. Here's my real hours, by user Roger Reditaken. I started working for a non-profit in 2019 after being a volunteer member since 2000. It was supposed to be temporary for 3 months or so, but the non-profit dragged their feet hiring a permanent replacement. I'm fairly well off, not filthy rich, but debt-free and comfortable, and didn't need the money, so I never billed for my hours after working 15 months full-time. It was supposed to be $25/HRCAD currency, but I was willing to work for free if they just found a replacement in a reasonable time. They were pressuring me for an invoice, so I finally invoiced them for 40/week for 15 months, and it was about high $60. They were livid for a variety of reasons I didn't understand. They accused me of lying about my hours because I was a new father and my wife had gone back to work after maternity leave, and there's no way I could have worked that much. When I told them I had my son in daycare instead of staying at home with him, they sarcastically said, "Now you know what it's like to work an actual job like the rest of us." They were mad that I wasn't volunteering my time anymore like I used to, but I insisted I was, and that my billed time was only for the TV bingo fundraiser and not for any other non-profit activities. They didn't believe me. I tried to tell them my hours were actually more than I billed for, and my hourly rate is greatly reduced compared to what I normally charge for all the work I was doing: IT, e-commerce, web design, marketing, HR, operations, bookkeeping, TV production, etc. But they said they didn't care about the rate reduction. They insisted that I charge my normal rates for my actual hours, and then deduct 10 hours a week for volunteering, which is about 10 times more hours than any of them volunteer for. Okay, bet. I started charging them $40 to $125 per hour depending on the task. I recorded all my tasks and hours in great detail. I charged for any time I spent doing what was normally volunteer work for the non-profit. Then I finally deducted 10 hours a week. I was billing an average of 50 hours a week after the volunteer hours were deducted. I also took the opportunity to start hiring more people under me on their dimes so I could work way less than I did in the first 15 months, but still get paid the same if not more. They couldn't say anything because it was exactly what they asked for. I was billing $1/week before malicious compliance, and then about $3/week after malicious compliance, which I started trimming back down closer to $1/week after cutting my own hours. These guys kept doubling down and accusing me of incompetence and fraud over the next year and a half that I continued working, but I didn't care anymore. They turned my passion into a crappy job that I didn't need, so I stayed until all my amazing employees were hopefully set up for success and wrote that non-profit out of my life for good. I didn't feel any guilt over being paid for my time with them because I had raised more money for them in 30 months, $30 million gross, about $20 million net than they had raised in the 100 years before then.